Life is only as hard as you are serious. Now, what do I mean by that? Why do you say life is hard? Is it because there is challenging, obstacles that you have to overcome? Or is it because bad things happen sometimes and you can't really avoid it? I think most people say life is hard because of the second, because bad things happen and you just have to deal with it. I don't think anyone really minds that there is difficult obstacles to overcome. I think this is very much part of what makes this experience very interesting for everyone. And so I don't think most people say life is hard because of certain challenges. I think people say it's hard because of all the negative things that happen, right? So, but then we can all agree, right, that, for example, when we watch a movie, there needs to be bad. There needs to be the upward and the downward. Otherwise, the movie would get boring. The movie where everything goes right and is perfect and happy doesn't exist because nobody would watch it. But for some reason, when it comes to experiencing our own life, it's suddenly so difficult for us to see this. And people imagine that they want this perfect happy life where nothing ever goes wrong. But that's just, it's completely devoid of logic. It doesn't make any sense. It is just, it's an idea that is just simply outside of logic. It doesn't make any sense. It's just simply a blissful idea that could never be real and never work, and nobody would actually want this perfect happy life because it would end up actually being boring. So let's see here. The main question then becomes, why is it so easy for us to know this, to agree on this when it comes to movies, but when it comes to actual experience in life, suddenly it becomes this discussion where there's differing opinions. If there's any of you who think a perfect happy movie would be interesting, let me know. I'd be curious to know. I don't think there is anyone. I think everyone agrees with this. But then when it comes to your own experience, it's this very different thing, because now it's happening to you. And you have an idea of what you want your life to look like. And you become very attached to this idea, and so then through this attachment to how you want your life to look, you become very serious about it. You forget to just take the moment and take the situation for what it is and see where it leads, and instead you try to control the narrative. So, and let's see here then. The thing that I want to clarify after saying that is not that you should not want anything, but I think there's a difference between wanting something and being, attached to this want, like taking it seriously, or just kind of wanting something as more of a playful game, where you can say, I don't need this, I don't need things to be a certain way, but also I can't just do nothing. If I just sit around at home and do nothing all the time, then nothing is gonna happen and nothing is gonna come of it. So in order to take action, you need to have some kind of intention, right? But the goal in the end is not to not have intention, but simply to not take this intention so seriously. So where does all this taking stuff so seriously, being attached to how your life looks, come from? I think it's all rooted in fear, right? So you can get to a point where you can just accept everything as it is and achieve unconditional happiness. Now, I never tried to find unconditional happiness. I never really thought about how can I be more happy. Personally, my personal story is just that I am always interested in the truth and understanding how things work, understanding how I work, how the world around me works, how everything goes together, right? I like to understand the systems, I like to understand the logic. And through through the realization of the logic, I in the end achieved unconditional happiness. It was more of a side product that I then realized is actually, the unavoidable end product that all this leads to. So once you understand that there is no reason to be afraid of anything, sure, you might say there is the instinctual fear where it's like a life or death decision, the fight or flight response. But I think that's a different thing. That's simply a biologically ingrained instinct where you act before any thought. And as soon as thought comes into play, as soon as logic comes into play, there isn't any actual reason to be afraid. And in the end, it's the fear that leads you to be attached to things, right? So let's say you are attached to the money you have in your bank account, or you're attached to the idea of your future where you have a lot of money. This attachment comes from being afraid of how things might be if you don't have that money. You start imagining a reality that could eventually happen if you lose this or if you don't achieve this. And so it's always some kind of fear that then leads to attachment. And as soon as you're at the point of attachment, you start taking these things seriously, right? And this might sound super brutal to someone who would say, okay, well, but let's say now a mother loses her child. And I'm here saying, well, actually, it's not so serious. I get it, okay? I get that it sounds very distanced from the actual situation. But the point is not that through this, or that this unconditional happiness means that when your child dies, you'll say, yes, finally, I'm so happy my child died. Like, I cannot wait to see how I feel about this tomorrow. This is not the point of the whole thing. The point of what I mean by this unconditional happiness is simply that this happening cannot take away my will to live anymore. I understand that the surprises are necessary, and it is what keeps us going, right? A completely predictable future is already the past. Imagine every day you already know everything that's going to happen, and that's what you're trying to do by trying to control the narrative, trying to make your life look like a certain thing. And I don't know where I was going. Well, so yeah, I don't know what I was saying, but it doesn't. I think I brought across the point that I was trying to make. And was there anything else I wanted to say? Well, in the end, the point that I'm trying to make is maybe if you're trying to find happiness, maybe you're too attached already to the idea of being happy. It's not trying to be happy that led me to be happy like this. In the end, it was just the simple realization that there's no reason to be serious, because there's no reason to be attached, because there's no reason to fear. And to prove this, I actually prepared something that I have never done before. I never put this amount of work into something. But I prepared a little graphic that I'm going to show right here, right now. Fear leads to attachment, leads to seriousness. Okay. So much just to prove that what I'm saying is actually the truth. And now stop worrying so much. Ask different questions, instead of asking, or instead of saying, I hope things will be this way, just wonder what will happen next. Let the world surprise you, let the universe surprise you, because in not knowing what tomorrow brings, we find what we truly desire, which is not knowing what tomorrow brings. That's why I said a completely predictable future is already the past.